That's great.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please. Our program continues now from Gasparino. We go to Scaramucci. And we are very pleased to have Anthony Scaramucci with us today. When we invited him to sit down with us many weeks ago, he graciously agreed, and there were a number of things we knew about Anthony Scaramucci. We knew he was managing partner of SkyBridge Capital, which he founded 5 years ago as a hedge fund seeding business. We knew that he was a commentator on CNBC. We knew that he was the author of a book called Goodbye Gordon Gekko. We knew that he appeared in a new movie, Wall Street, playing himself. But we had no idea that when we asked him to speak at this event that Mr. Scaramucci would go on television and remind us all what it's like to be whacked like a piñata. His question to President Obama at the televised town meeting produced major headlines around the country, around the world. He had some critics, but a lot of people cheered as well. So this day we thought it was appropriate.
Not that many cheered.
Some cheered. We thought it was appropriate today to invite Anthony Scaramucci to talk about the election, to talk about the impact of politics on Wall Street, on our future, and we are proud to have him here today. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you.
You know, if you don't mind, I'd just like to start with a question.
I'm surprised you don't have the Jon Stewart clip. Well, that's actually a lot funnier than this one. All right. Anyway.
Mitch, roll it.
I have, sir, and this is something I really, a lot of my friends are thinking about. Listen, I represent the Wall Street community. We have felt like a piñata. Maybe you don't feel like you're whacking us with a stick, but we certainly feel like we've been whacked with a stick. So I certainly think that Main Street and Wall Street are connected. And if we're going to heal the society and make the economy better, how are we going to work towards that, healing Wall Street and Main Street? Question number.
That was the first question, and we won't watch the whole interview again, but I mean, what was it like after that you asked that question? What was the reaction to it?
Well, he took the baseball bat out, right? He didn't stop with the piñata stick. Listen, I mean, first of all, there's a couple things. Number one, I should have phrased the question differently. No question about that. The second thing is when the President of the United States says, hold on a second, he's got the nuclear codes, you don't have the nuclear codes. So you have no choice but to hold on a second, right? So when he decided that, when I thought I was giving him a question where I was going to get him the opportunity to dial down the anti-business rhetoric that was coming from him, because I do believe this, and maybe I'm wrong about this, because I'm pretty tight with Austin Goolsbee, who's now his economics advisor. The administration views themselves as pro-business. So they're sitting in their, bunker, and they're saying to themselves, geez, we view ourselves as pro-business. Why does the business community view us as anti-business? My opinion, rightly or wrongly, and believe me, I've gotten, 20 piñatas. Somebody yesterday sent to the NASDAQ market site a 6-foot piñata. Okay, you could literally put a saddle on it. Okay, you can ask Melissa Lee. Okay, but what I would say to you is that when you think about the rhetoric that's coming out of the administration, if you're singling out one group of people, the financial services community represents 15% of the market capitalization of the S&P 500. There are 7.6 million people that have jobs in financial services. So when you're making these very broad, overgeneralized statements, and then you're saying, well, 15 guys on Wall Street made $1 billion, that's unconscionable, and you're trying to stir up this populist fervor, it's very, very bad for the society. It's very polarizing. It breeds a lot of anger and contempt, and it also paralyzes business leaders. Now, the flip side of it is, because I've gotten hundreds and hundreds of letters, I posted a blog on the Huffington Post. There was 168 responses. 300 of them were negative. I mean, it was, crazy. So my point in making that statement, you guys finally got that, right? Okay. But my point in making that statement is that, and I said this to, someone mentioned Mitt Romney and, Vito supported Mitt. Charlie doesn't like Mitt, I guess, but I love Mitt Romney, okay? And I'm tight with the governor. I was with the governor on Friday. I showed him that film clip. I showed him the clip of John Stewart, who basically said on national TV that they should whack me with the piñata stick until that mother blunt beep, beep, beep candy comes out, which was actually quite funny, actually. I thought it was great. I got John Stewart coming to the SkyBridge Salt Conference next year. I mean, how could I pass up on that opportunity, right? He's going to give the luncheon speech. So, look, but what I said to Governor Romney is that what startled me about the whole thing is that I grew up as a middle-class kid. My parents never went to college. They worked tirelessly to get me my education. And so I view myself as like a middle-class kid. But the community does not view me like that. The American public views me as a Wall Street, I don't know, fat cat, tycoon, something like that. The irony is, SkyBridge almost was no bridge during the crisis, was almost blown up bridge. We were too small of a company to get any bailout money. We were too small to, quote unquote, not fail. We were small enough to fail, and we needed to be managed very prudently to survive the crisis. We were taking the onslaught from the bad decisions that were made on Wall Street as much as anybody else. But my point to the president, rightly or wrongly, was when you are singling out one industry that's 15% of the S&P 500, the other 85% are frozen in their tracks. Now, Ken Langone wrote a op-ed a couple weeks ago. Kenny's a very good friend of mine. I consider him one of my mentors. He sees this thing the same way that I do, that you paralyze people. Now, does the president want to paralyze people? I don't know. I supported the president. Earlier in the clip, we were conversing about our law school time together. I was class of 1989 from Harvard Law School. He was class of 91. We had a lot of friends in common. I voted for the president. I supported the president. Okay, but I think he's really off on this, and I think he's hurting the country.
Well, clearly, you don't sound like you're backing off that statement at all.
I'm not backing off that statement.
You don't, but
no, I should have phrased it differently.
How
but
would
that's
you
okay.
phrase it? Okay, so you got another opportunity. How would you phrase that question now?
Well, I think I would have said to the president, I would have said, listen, there's maybe there's 1,000 people on Wall Street that did nefarious things. Maybe there's 2,000 people, but there's 7.5 million people on Wall Street. I think that the street, despite what Joe Nocera says about a systemic risk and systemic corruption and all this other stuff, and too bad Charlie's not here because we could go to blows on this. Okay, I think that there's a lot of good people on Wall Street. I just happen to believe that, and now Joe Nocera will call me naive, and Charlie will say no, that I'm wrong. He's got like the little piggies on his book. They're all walking around with little piggies, but. Look, my assistant's been with me 20 years. She's not a little piggy.
You were obviously surprised by the reaction, right? I mean, you never dreamed this.
I thought that the president would have said, we got to work together, that there actually is a nexus between Wall Street and Main Street. He's got to be the president for everybody. You see, what he's trying to do right now, which could work, and, he may win re-election. It's 24 months from now, so who knows what could happen. But what he's trying to do is he's decided that there's a group of people that he's going to attach himself to, and he's going to work on trying to get 51% of the vote. Now, half the people in the country, or 48% of the people, are not paying any federal income taxes. So he's going to lock up probably 80% of those people. Okay, so 32% of the people, the 40%, are going to vote for him because they believe that he's going to, be their savior. Okay, and that's fine. That's one viewpoint. And then he's got to work on the other independents, and he's got to expand out from that base. My, conversation with Governor Romney on Friday and his staff, I think the president is very highly likely to get reelected. Very highly likely, despite what you see going on right now. He has something that the other candidates don't have. What does he have? He's got that blue and white plane. Okay, and when that blue and white plane touches down in the middle of America and they put the seal, I know the seal fell off on him last week or 2 weeks ago, that was sort of funny. When they put that seal on the podium, and he is the Michael Jordan of political rhetoric. Okay, and by the way, most people in this room sort of probably think he's a nice guy. I mean, he looks like a likable person. He's got a family, and look, he's a historic figure. I would have liked to have seen the president succeed. Okay, I would view myself as a patriot first and a partisan second. Okay, and I would have liked to have seen the president succeed. But What he's trying to do is this whole divide and conquer and exploit anger.
You call it the politics
Doesn't
of
work.
hate and divisiveness.
Doesn't work.
And you
Okay.
think the president is...
Doesn't work. The Tea Party does not work. Okay, tell me, somebody here, raise your hand and please tell me the decision that you made in your life that was born from anger, that was a fantastic decision for you. Just somebody please give me an example. One time in your life, you got really, really angry, then you made a decision, either impetuous or heated. Go ahead, tell me the one.
I would rephrase it. I'd say that's not a fair. I'd say that's not a fair question, and I'm not a Tea Partyist, but I don't mean like. But you know, the revolution, the American Revolution, this very society, you know, on the opposite for 10 years, this society was founded on it. The fundamental freedoms that we all enjoy, you know, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, were founded on the basis of an angry populace.
Okay, you know, I don't want to get into a history debate, but there's a fantastic book out right now. Pauline Meyer, who wrote the book on the Declaration of Independence, she just wrote a book on the ratification of the U.S. Constitution. It's in the bookstores right now. She's a historian from MIT. And I'm not suggesting that there wasn't some arguments and there wasn't some heat and some vitriol. But the people that framed the Constitution and put the country together, there was a ton of negotiation with George III and the, monarchy and the Parliament before they made the decision to create that revolution. So I don't think that those decisions were born from anger. Ron Chernow's book on Washington, I'm halfway through it. You can read the sections on Washington and the decision, because he viewed himself as a monarchist before he took over the Continental Army. These people were not angry people. They were rational in their thinking. They were thinking about people like John Stuart Mill and John Locke. Okay, they were not, in my opinion, polarizing and angry. If anything, they were fairly inclusive. If you think about the way they framed the government, and if you read the Federalist Papers, which I know Glenn Beck really likes the Federalist Papers, read those papers, okay, they're fairly anti-government, okay, and they're fairly, let's put the people together, and just think of some of the gigantic decisions. The Commerce Clause, huge decisions, revolutionized this continent, the Commerce Clause. What is the Commerce Clause? Just quickly, I don't want to get the Commerce Clause. No taxation among the states. That decision that Hamilton pushed for created the first free trading bloc, okay, which ultimately, through manifest destiny, became 48 states. Okay, but you have to think about it. Okay, the Europeans are still struggling with this 260 years later. They can't seem to get it right. Yet the United States, single currency, free trading bloc, founded in 1789. So a lot of this stuff, I hear you. Yeah, you do need some rhetoric and people need to get fired up. But you've got to think rationally. We have gigantic, gigantic problems in this country. The number one problem, in my opinion, is this sort of stuff. Because this is fantastic for a cable news cycle. This is fantastic for a soundbite. You can get a lot of people angry. Some of the people, a few people, good job. Most of the people very angry, very upset with me. I'm a Wall Street tycoon. I'm a fat cat. I'm out of touch with American society. I mean, I've heard everything in the last 2 months. But this is not going to be the winning strategy for the society. We need a much longer term thought process and decision-making process if we're going to get ourselves out of these problems.
The last
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Eric.
Yeah.